diamonds are rare. It is a common misconception that diamonds are extremely rare. In fact, they are among the most abundant gemstones in nature, with hundreds of millions of carats extracted annually. True rarity is limited only to high-quality diamonds, those characterized by perfect clarity, structural symmetry, and an absence of intrinsic flaws. While these specific stones command exorbitant prices, they are not the type typically found in most conventional jewelry. The high prices and the prevailing perception of rarity are primarily the result of calculated monopolistic policies aimed at controlling supply. Throughout most of the 20th century, a single corporation dominated the majority of the global diamond market, enabling it to manage supply and demand with precision. By releasing only limited quantities into the market, the company maintained price stability at artificially high levels, effectively creating an artificial scarcity. This economic strategy was coupled with massive advertising and promotional campaigns that brilliantly succeeded in shaping collective consciousness. Diamonds were successfully framed as precious stones and eternal symbols of love and devotion. These campaigns were so successful that they established the presence of diamonds in engagement rings as a deep-rooted global tradition and a fundamental standard in the modern era. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. It is widely believed that this notion originated from a promotional campaign launched by companies to drive cereal sales, despite lacking a solid scientific basis. However, this does not mean that these companies invented the concept of breakfast or that it wasn't deemed important prior to their marketing efforts. In fact, breakfast has been a common practice since ancient times, largely because many people performed strenuous manual labor early in the morning and required the essential nutrients to fuel their day. Mice love cheese. If you've ever tried baiting a mousetrap with cheese, you might have noticed it doesn't always work. This isn't just because cheese dries out quickly and loses its scent, but because mice don't actually have a special preference for it. Mice will eat almost anything with nutritional value, but like many other animals, they tend to favor high-sugar foods such as sweets or fruits, as these provide a greater energy boost. It is likely that this misconception originated from how people historically stored their food. In the past, grains, cured meats, and cheese were kept in cellars or pantries. Since cheese was often the most pungent and accessible item, people frequently spotted mice nibbling on it. This led to the false conclusion that it was their favorite food. Dogs don't just see in black and white. There is a common misconception that dogs only see in black and white, but the truth is they possess dichromatic vision. While humans have about 6 million visual cones, dogs have only around 1.2 million. Furthermore, humans possess 3 types of cones: red, green, and blue, whereas dogs are limited to only 2, yellow and blue. This difference doesn't mean colors are absent, rather, it means they see the world similarly to people with color blindness. Colors falling between red and green appear to them as shades of yellow or brown, while blue and yellow remain distinct. However, what dogs lack in visual acuity, they more than make up for with an extraordinary sense of smell. They possess between 220 and 300 million olfactory receptors, compared to only about 5 to 6 million in humans. Additionally, the part of a dog's brain responsible for processing scents is roughly 40 times larger than that of a human. This grants them the incredible ability to detect odors at extremely low concentrations, such as the ability to detect a single drop of liquid in 20 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Cold weather gives you the flu. Exposure to cold weather does not directly cause illness. Contracting the flu requires the presence of a virus. However, the cold has indirect effects. Low temperatures can weaken the immune response within the nose, and people tend to spend more time indoors during winter, which increases the risk of transmission due to close proximity to others. Similarly, going outside with wet hair does not cause illness in itself. Furthermore, cold air is often dry, which helps flu viruses remain active for longer periods. Inhaling this dry air also leads to the dehydration of the mucous membranes in the nasal passages, reducing their ability to trap viruses and making it easier for them to enter the body. Dietary fat is what causes body fat. Despite the prevalence of low-fat diets in the 1980s and 90s, which solidified this misconception, they often drove people toward consuming refined carbohydrates and sugars as substitutes. These alternatives can sometimes contribute to weight gain even more significantly than fats. The truth is that dietary fat does not automatically convert into stored body fat. Instead, the primary cause is a caloric surpluses, meaning the consumption of more calories than the body burns, which forces it to store this excess energy as fat. While it is true that fats are highly energy-dense, containing 9 calories per gram, making overconsumption easy, the same fundamental rule applies to sugars and carbohydrates as well. Fruit juice is healthy. Many people trying to quit sweets believe that fruit juices are an ideal alternative. However, the truth is that they aren't necessarily a good option. The sweetness in juice comes from fructose, meaning you are still consuming large amounts of sugar. Depending on the type and quantity of fruit, a single glass of juice can contain as much sugar as a can of Coca-Cola. Furthermore, juice is a liquid that is easy to consume in large quantities quickly and mindlessly, unlike whole fruit, which requires chewing and provides a sense of fullness. For instance, a typical strawberry smoothie recipe might include an entire container of strawberries, half a cup of milk, half a cup of yogurt, and a few spoonfuls of sugar. Nevertheless, fruit remains generally more beneficial than soft drinks due to its content of vitamins, fiber, and essential nutrients. Lie detectors. Lie detector devices, or polygraphs, are designed to measure heart rate, blood pressure, respiratory rate, and skin conductivity to assess a person's stress levels. The underlying theory is that lying induces stress, which in turn leads to significant physiological changes. However, these devices are entirely unreliable because they measure stress rather than deception itself. Stress levels can spike simply due to the pressure of interrogation, particularly regarding sensitive topics, even if the individual is being truthful. Conversely, sociopaths or highly trained individuals can remain calm enough to keep their readings within a normal range. Furthermore, the device must be calibrated before the test to establish the person's baseline values. Some people intentionally manipulate these baselines by self-inflicting minor pain, such as biting their tongue or inducing anxiety, so that their later responses appear normal by comparison. Due to these limitations, polygraph results are not admissible as evidence in courts in the United States and many other countries. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share the video with your friends. Thanks for watching.